Hi, welcome to the Coffee Chat Show here on Buzzin Pattaya, the show where we talk about things that are happening right here, right now, as well as general news, tips, information and advice. Now, welcome back to part 2. Joining me, as always, Danny. How you doing, my man?
Hey, Trevor, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, buddy. You okay?
Everything's good.
You been up to much since I last saw you?
Just a little.
A little bit. Okay, cool. Now, in part 1, if you didn't see part 1, I will put a link in the description below. Guys, even if you don't like baseball, check out part 1. Listen to the stories that Danny shared with us and his life as becoming one of the most respected baseball journalists in the world. I mean, have a listen. It really was an interesting interview. It was fantastic. Thank you for that. Now I want to come to where we are now. And we're right sat now in your brand new spanking bar. It looks absolutely lovely. We're here in Tree Town in Soi Buakhao. But before we came here, you opened a bar just literally.
Just down that way.
Talking about baseball, I reckon I could picture a stone and actually hit your bar.
Pretty close.
I reckon I've got a chance.
I did have a chance.
I mean, what was the thought process in getting a bar? I mean,
well,
how did that happen?
That's a good question. Sometimes I wonder myself, but only in a good way, because it's turned out to be a great experience.
Okay.
But in December, my wife had talked about getting a bar before.
Yeah.
But just kind of maybe sometime we'll do it. Not too serious. And then in December of 2018, we were looking for something to do. The people that I had been doing most of my writing for at the time told me that they loved what I was doing but didn't have enough money and could offer me some work but not as much work, not as much money. And we're gonna have to do something a little different. And I thought about a few different possibilities, and none of them really appealed to me.
Okay.
And I was kind of ready to do something different anyway. I'd been in the business a long time. I was kind of tired of some parts of it, and I could go on, but I was happy to try something else. Okay. And my wife says, well, we could just stay here and open a bar. And I said, well, I like the first half of that, stay here. Opening a bar, what do we know about opening a bar? And she said, well, don't worry about it. And I said, okay. And fortunately, we had other members of our family involved who had some experience with bars. Yeah. And some friends also. And my family was willing to do all the real work.
Oh, okay, good.
And
that's a bonus.
Yeah, yeah. And basically what I had to do was I had to be the guy who people would come to talk to. Yeah. And so I had to be in the bar, talk to people, and also make sure that the right sports were on TV, be able, which that wasn't that big an issue for me. I always enjoyed sports from around the world, really, and I enjoyed looking for different sports on TV, which you can find now through the magic of the internet. Yeah, better than ever before. And so in January of 2019, we started looking around at possible bars, what would work, what could fit into how we wanted to operate, and our price structure. Yeah. And we found a place Made in Thailand that felt good. My wife and I went to drink in there a few nights in a row to sit there and kind of get a feel for what it was like.
Did you try and call that market research?
Yeah, exactly. And I went and I talked to every bar owner and manager I knew in town about what I should know about, what are the pitfalls and what are the good parts. Because I was concerned, I think, about two different things. Okay. I wasn't that concerned about whether or not we'd be successful. And I don't mean that in that I was sure we were. What I meant was that one of the reasons I was willing to do it was the amount of money we were putting at risk wasn't game-changing. Okay, yeah. Wasn't life-changing for us. It was, we were hoping to generate some money. Fortunately, we did. Yep. But also, if worst came to worst and we didn't, which is in some ways the last year with the bars having to close, we could get by. Okay. So that wasn't the biggest. My two biggest concerns were, one, would I enjoy it? Being in the same place every day, being tied down to one spot. Yeah. And two, would I end up drinking too much? Because I didn't want to do that. I've always liked to drink, but I didn't want. Yeah. I didn't want to be in a position where it felt like I just turned into just a drunk. Yeah. And fortunately, the way things went, I felt like both those concerns got alleviated fairly soon. Maybe the first quicker than the second. I found I really enjoyed having the bar. The way I like to describe it to people, when you have a bar and it's going good, it's like you're having a party at your house every day, and your friends, different friends, are coming over and bringing their friends to meet you.
Yeah,
and you have fun. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great analogy, and I could get that as well. I mean, obviously, you know, when you put pen to paper,
right.
when you transferred your money across, etc.
Right.
I mean, did you sit there and think, oh, please?
Well, you hear all the stories, and you hear people who lose all their money, and the old story of how do you make a small fortune in a bar in Pattaya, to start with a big fortune. Yeah. But, you know, to be honest, with the bar, the size we had to start with, this one here is a little bit bigger and somewhat more expensive, but not too bad. But the amount of money that was at risk was fairly small. And the other thing is, we were planning to be there. My family was involved in it. One of the things, there's a lot of bars that fail here for various reasons. Sometimes just because the guy just loses interest in it.
Yeah.
Partners fall out, but we didn't have any partners, just our family. Yeah. Now, you can have family issues too, but that's a different thing. And the other reason is that you get guys who say, oh, it'd be nice to have a bar. Well, but where are you going to live? Well, I'm going to live over in England, or I'm going to live over in Saudi where I'm working and making money. We were going to live here. We were going to be at the bar. Your risk is definitely lower when you're there all the time.
I mean, you talked a lot about the bar in Made in Thailand, and you know, you had a very good reputation in Made in Thailand. People knew about you, and you know, you've got a good reputation not just in Made in Thailand but around Pattaya. And everyone talks about you. So you did a very good job there, and fair play to you. Why have you moved? Why have you come into Treetown?
Well, we always thought that there was a chance that we'd want a bigger bar than we had.
Okay.
And when we opened the first bar, and we were fairly successful. When there were tourists in town, remember that?
What are they?
There were quite a few nights where the bar was pretty full. And even since then, even during COVID times, our last two big parties, we had to rent the bar next door to have enough room for all the people who would come for the parties. So we knew that there were going to be times where we really would want more space.
Yeah.
And so my wife had her eye on Treetown for a while. She looked at a couple other bars. We looked for a little while at buying an existing bar. And then a few months back, we were sitting and having dinner, and she said, they're going to be building new bars.
Yeah.
And we can get one if we want. We can get a double unit if we want, and here's the price, here's what we have to do. And I said, sounds good. You know, we talked about it a little bit more. We were going to be able to build the bar almost from scratch. They put a roof and the floor, and everything else, for the most part, you can decide yourself.
All right, okay.
And so we could build a bar that we wanted, not take over something that was just set up. The other thing was we would have the space. We'd have the space to have two pool tables, as we do. We'd have the space where the pool tables were on one side and where you have the bar on the other side. So if a bunch of people are playing pool, there's a bunch of people on the other side watching a football game. They're not interfering with each other. You can do both. And when we had a party, we could accommodate the people in the space. Hopefully we can't in this space. Hopefully it gets so successful it can. But that we'd have enough space. Also, we saw Treetown, as I think a lot of people do now, as a real up-and-coming area in Pattaya. That, you know, for a long time, when Treetown just started, we were coming to Pattaya, people said, oh, nothing works in Treetown. They've tried all these different things, nothing's going. Well, over the last, say, year and a half, that's totally changed.
Yes.
The things that are here already are working. They've put in more things. There's the beach club going up right behind us. It's going to be a big, big deal. Yeah. There's a lot of people who have other bars from other parts of town who are moving into Treetown. Matador Bar, which is also Made in Town, they've been in Made in Town for a long time. They not only have their original bar in Treetown, they're opening a bar in our section right across the parking lot from there. There's the food court has gotten bigger and bigger. Sue's Coffee, which is a lot of people around here know because the people involved in it are involved in quite a few bars and clubs in town. Well, they had Sue's Cocktails right behind it. Yeah. There's more and more things opening up here that are going to be exciting for people and are going to bring people to the area, and we think it's going to be the place to be.
Oh, I totally agree with you there, Danny. I mean, I really do. I mean, you know, you can only just look around where we're sat here now. You know, if you'd have gone back 8 to 12 months, this part wasn't even really developed. There was nothing. Now there's a plethora of bars here, and there's room for more still, you know. So I do agree with you. I think, you know, recently I walked around LK Metro and it was incredible to see the changes in some of the bars, you know. And this whole, and I don't want to get into this because we flogged this to death now about Walking Street, but you know, even if Walking Street does change, it's not the end. It's just a case of what was there will have to lift up and come somewhere else. And I think here...
Yeah, well, I have a good friend who believes that at some point, and he's not tied in with anything, he just sees what he sees, that at some point, that at night times, maybe they'll close off Soi Buakhao in this area to traffic and make it into almost a walking street of its own, starting down there around LK or even maybe, and then towards this area.
Wouldn't that be good?
Because there's already so many things going in.
Yeah, I mean, you walk along Soi Buakhao and literally, you know, sure, okay, sorry, you know.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It really is. I mean, obviously you've come here now. I mean, Dannys Sportsbar, you've got your two pool table, you've got a beautiful bar. I mean, the top there is...
Appreciate it.
It really is. It's like home from home, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the idea,
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about, you know, the futures, hopefully you're going to get packed, etc. What's been the hardest adjustment for you to having a business here? Because you've come from an environment where pretty much everything's been taken care of in terms of, well, that's the game, you've just got to do your bit.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole different ball game. I mean, and particularly coming to Thailand where, let's just say, perhaps working with Thai people is not quite as straightforward as perhaps working with a European.
Fair enough, yeah.
How have you adapted to that?
I feel like I've adapted pretty well. I hadn't run businesses here before, but I'd been here a lot.
Okay.
I've been married for 14 years to a Thai woman, been involved with the family.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a feel for how Thai people operate.
So you know Thai time then?
Yeah, I know, and I do. And I know things that are going to be an issue and things that aren't. And you can't live here, let alone run a business and have a bar, without being pretty adaptable.
Fair enough.
And I feel like I am.
If you could have one person, okay, I want you to imagine now that you're in your bar, you're sat here, there's a car at the far end, and inside is one person that you could invite to your bar. Who would it be and why? Got to be one of your baseball players, isn't it? Come on, who?
You know what? No, not really. I've seen enough of them. It's more likely to be a friend of mine, a friend of mine from back home who I didn't expect to ever come here. That would be more likely.
Do you know, it's funny, isn't it? I must admit, you just mentioned something there, which is really, it's a very valid point. How many of your friends from back home have been out here to see you?
You know, that's a great question. Only a few.
Yeah.
A lot of them have talked about it.
Yeah, same.
They talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
But actually getting here, I've had a few friends and a few people who I knew who weren't necessarily close friends, but I knew there's a guy who does the pregame on the New York Yankees telecast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he and his wife had gone to a wedding in Bangkok a couple of years ago. And he came and spent a couple nights in Pattaya and stopped by the bar a few times.
Brilliant.
So you know, I wouldn't call him a close friend, but he's someone I know, and came here. But yeah, I have. When you put on Facebook that you have a bar in Thailand, your people who've known you all through your life say, "Oh yeah, that'd be great. We're coming over, and we're making all the plans." Now, how many of them do you actually see? Well, we'll see. I mean, it's a long way, especially for America. I mean, you're talking 20-something hours to fly here. It's not the easiest trip, but hopefully some of them get here.
You touched on a subject which was going to be my next question in my head. I'm thinking I want to ask you this question. So you've come from a very upstanding, very respectable industry in terms of you're a journalist in baseball, and you know you've reached the very, very dizzy heights of becoming the man in the sport. Now your friends, oh yeah, Danny's got a bar in Thailand. Oh really? Whereabouts? In Pattaya. How many of your friends back home think that you've got a bar here rather than a sports bar where you can have a drink?
Probably fewer than you think.
Okay.
And probably fewer than if I was moving from England.
Yeah.
Because I think the reputation is probably different from people in America who haven't been here than from people in England. There aren't as many, you know, it feels like once every 5 or 6 months, one or another of the English tabloids does a expose on Pattaya. Oh, yeah. We don't have as much of that in America.
Okay.
So you don't hear as much about it, probably some, but not as much.
Okay. I mean, we keep talking about baseball, but you've got a very good knowledge of sport in general. I mean, it's not just baseball, is it?
Yeah, I enjoy sports overall, and I enjoy getting to know other sports. When I moved here, I've gotten to know and to like the Australian Rugby League and the AFL football much more than the time difference in America. The games are on. There are some games on TV, but they're on in the middle of the night. You don't really. You might happen to be up one time and I'll watch a little bit of this crazy Australian football game. It just looks like chaos.
Are you going to stay up tonight to watch Spurs play?
I'll watch. I watch every game. I some of them I enjoy, some of them I don't.
We were talking about this before we did this interview about the fact that we've got Spurs and Arsenal, and like the end of our season is going to be, yes, we finished above Spurs and we both finished in 8th and 9th. Or like, no, we finished above Arsenal. I mean, been a disaster, isn't it, really?
Yeah, both teams are pretty bad right now. To me, it's always a small club mentality if you're only worried about whether you finish above your rival.
That's all we've got to hold on to, My answer is 13 FA Cup wins and 22 years above you. That's all I've got right now. I mean, neither of us are top four. I mean, it's just... No. It's embarrassing. I mean, talking about embarrassing, I mean, how do you find it when you get a customer come into your bar and they don't really know about your history, they don't really know of you, they've just sort of like stumbled through, and maybe you've got a game on the screen there and they start to tell you how the game is played. I mean, how do you bite your lip? What do you do?
Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit, but usually there's somebody else in the bar who might say something. Yeah. But, I enjoy talking to people, and if sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know what I've done. Sometimes they're interested, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they think they know everything, sometimes they don't. But most of the time, if they find out where you've been, what you've done, they're interested in hearing stories about it. They're interested in talking about it. So,
I mean, away from the bar, how do you relax?
I like to walk around town. I like to walk on Beach Road, go down there, and take a long walk.
It's changed a lot on the Beach Road since you
came. It has, definitely has. I like to walk there. I like to sit at home and read a book. I like to go to a friend's bar and sit there and just chat, have a good time.
Do you travel much around Thailand at all?
I have at times. We haven't done very much since we've had the bar.
Okay.
We did before. I'd like to do it sometime.
Yeah.
There are places I'd like to go. Although, to be honest, right now, I've done so much traveling, either through work or... Right now, I kind of enjoy being here and not getting in...
Feet up, beer, book, TV, happy days.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of fun.
Have you learnt much Thai since you've been coming here?
Not as much as I would like to, but I have... I get by.
Okay.
I get by okay. I think you speak a little bit more than I do, but I'm getting there.
I mean, when you try to learn the language, I mean, people often ask me, like, what's the key to success to learning Thai? And there is no key to success because I haven't learnt it. I'm forever learning. But how have you found it? I mean, have you found any particular way that's helped you to ingrain the words?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One, my advantage is that I live in a Thai family. Yeah. And in our house, Thai is spoken all the time.
Yeah.
And we go out and Thai is spoken. So I pick up what I can pick up.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. I try to pay attention to what people say, how they use words, how the language is actually spoken by Thai people, as opposed to how you learn it in a book or in a class. The other thing is, I try when I'm walking around town to look at signs in Thai. My ability to read Thai isn't great, but I do look at that. And one of the nice things we have here when you're trying to learn letters and things like that, how things sound, is, as you know, on every sign, when the sign's in English, they're also required to put it in Thai. Yes. And so right up above our sign here, it says Dannys Sportsbar, and then in Thai it says Dannys Sportsbar, Dannys Sportsbar.
I mean, you've absolutely just nailed it on the head for me there, because the one thing I say to everybody that watches the channel that is asking me about how do you learn Thai, learn to read. Yeah. When you can learn to read Thai, the rest of it's irrelevant, because then when you read the word, you know exactly how it should be pronounced, not how you've heard it. So yeah, very, very valuable.
And then listen to people talking.
Yeah.
Listen to Thais. when they're talking to each other and hear how they speak.
Yeah.
Hear how they say the word and also how they put a sentence together. What they say, because it's really helpful.
Definitely, 100% agree with that. Moving forwards, I mean, you're talking about you've gone from Made in Thailand now to coming here. You're in Tree Town. You've got a much bigger bar. I mean, what's the future? Have you got like an even bigger goal ahead? Are you thinking like maybe 2025? I'm going to be looking at this.
No, not necessarily.
No?
I try to think a little bit ahead, but not too much. And the reason I say that, if you had asked me 3 years ago, would I be sitting here with a second bar in Thailand, living here full time? I would probably say no. I don't see that. We thought maybe at some point we would move to Thailand full time, but to be doing that and also to have a bar and then buy a second bar, no, I didn't see that. To me, I try to look ahead, but I also try to not make decisions before they have to be made, because the situation can change. And whatever is going to happen 2 or 3 years from now, I don't know. There's going to, but by the time that comes, there'll be a lot more information. I'll know a lot more, and maybe I'll want to do something else. And people say, well, how long do you want to have a bar? I don't know. I want to have it as long as I'm enjoying it, as long as I'm having fun. Right now, I am.
When you sit in the bar, you got the game on, and let's just say baseball happens to come on the TV, and you look at it. Do you watch the game, or do you go back into your journalist world?
I would say half and half.
Okay.
I watch games, but there's no way you can do what I have done and not spend some time watching the game, thinking what the story is, what's going on behind it, where people are. But yeah, I for the most part just watch games for entertainment.
You don't sneak a pen and paper and
no, definitely don't. I definitely don't do that. I don't. I don't pay that much attention to that. Sometimes one of my friends will be writing something on a game, and I'll be texting with them. But for the most part, no. I watch it for entertainment, and I watch what I need to watch and what I want to watch. And I like, I have the baseball app, MLB Bat app, on my TV at home and at the bar. And sometimes with the time difference, the West Coast night games will come on in the morning. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll flip a game on. And I'll just go from game to game.
Do you get your mates calling you like, Danny, what do you reckon the result of this game would be? What do you think?
No, they know better than that. They know that my ability to predict results. It's funny too, because people want me to do predictions or this and that, and I said, I hated doing predictions when I got paid to do predictions, and all it does is prove how wrong you are most of the time. So no, I don't do. You know, people say, "Oh, do you want to have a bet on this game?" No, I don't want to have a. Now, if a friend of mine, wants to have, someone supports Arsenal, say, "Hey, you want to bet a beer on this game?" I said, "Sure, why not?" I mean, I'd bet a beer on Spurs playing Man City. I knew Spurs weren't going to beat Man City, but what's a beer? I don't care.
It's a bit of fun. That's a bit of light-hearted fun, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, you've written 2 books.
Yes.
Is there a third?
That's another really good question. Possible, but nothing in the works yet. People have asked me whether I would write a book about the experience of having a bar.
Oh, wow.
And I've thought about that. I'm not really motivated to do it at the moment, although I do keep some ideas in my head just because I do think that way. I've had some friends here who've had some really interesting lives who might be interested in writing books about things they did and have me involved in that. So
cool.
Yeah, it's not out of the question, but it's not something that is right on the top of the shelf right now.
All right, well, that's fair enough. Last question, because we're coming near towards the end.
Sure.
One last question. You've got someone who's on an aeroplane.
Yes.
He's flying over here for the first time. Never ever been there before. Has no idea what to expect, but he's going to come to Dannys Sportsbar in Tree Town.
Right.
He's going to sit in front of you and say, "Boss, tell me one word of advice." What would you tell him?
One word of advice,
one piece of advice
about being here as a tourist.
One piece of advice coming here for the very first time.
Just go around town. Don't spend your whole time in one place. Go around town and find out what fits you, because one of the best things we have in this town is we have absolute everything you could want and different kinds of bars, different kinds of experiences, and what I like to do may not be what you like to do.
Sure.
And the bar that I think is the best bar in town may be one you say, I don't feel comfortable there.
Understood.
But there's another one that you might think, I'll give you an example. A lot of guys in town like to go to the nightclubs, the 808s and the Insomnias. It's never been my thing. Once in a while, I'll get dragged along with some friends and I'll go. But I'm a little older now, but even when I was younger, it wasn't really my thing, the banging music. I would rather, if I'm out late at night, I'd rather sit in a beer bar, drink a few beers, chat with a few friends, have a few laughs with a couple of the girls working in the bar, and maybe watch a game on TV and then go home. I don't enjoy the other as much, but someone else, that's their favorite thing to do. I'm not saying they're wrong any more than they should say I'm wrong.
No,
so to go back to your question, what I would say is find out what you enjoy. There's so much you can sample here. One of the things that's so great is everything's fairly compact. You can go from place to place. You can go sit at a bar watching, or a restaurant watching the sunset, or just sit on the beach watching the sunset. You can go into a go-go bar, you can go into a nightclub, or you can sit at a quieter beer bar, or sometimes a noisier beer bar, and have a great time. You can go for a walk. You can go down to the beach. You can go out to Koh Lan. You can go and have some great meals, some outstanding restaurants. You can go out and sample some amazing street food.
Yeah.
You can just, one of my things I tell people is go down to Not Close Seafood Market and get some fresh seafood, have them cook it up for you, do a picnic out right next to the water. There's so many things to do, but just find things you like and enjoy them.
Perfect, there you go. See, there you are. So don't stay in one place. Get up, have a wander around. There's so much in this city for you to enjoy. Danny, it's been a pleasure, my man.
It's been great.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks,
it's been
sir.
an absolute pleasure. Guys, Tree Town, okay, when you come into Tree Town from Soi Buakhao, go to the far end, go to the back end, and then you'll see Dannys Sportsbar here. It's a big open bar, 2 pool tables, lovely bar. Come and say hello to Danny and his family. It really is a lovely bar, and you'll be more than welcome here. All right, guys, that's it from us today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed part 2 as much as you enjoyed part 1. If you missed part 1, look in the description below, and there'll be a link there for you to follow that. All right, that's it from us, guys. As always, please remember, hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we bring out a new video. Check out our members area. More and more members are joining each and every week, and I'm going around speaking to lots and lots of bars to get you discounts to when you show your digital ID card, you'll get something back in return. And guys, check out our Telegram group. There's over 1,300 people in there now, all talking about weird and wonderful things. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Go and dive in and have a look for yourself. But one thing's for sure, it's a lot of fun. All right, guys, that's it from us. Thank you so much for watching. And please, as always, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.